Previously, both American and British armies tried to outmaneuver the other. With raids in upstate New York and a British landing in Delaware, things are starting to heat up for our Middle Colonies campaign. When we ended, the British learned of an isolated Patriot garrison near Morristown, New Jersey, and issued orders to encircle and destroy it. Though the British seem to have the element of surprise on their side, they really don't. The American players had actually given explicit orders to the soldiers in Morristown to conduct night operations training. And with that, they have learned that the British had moved during the night to encircle Morristown.
Oh, really?
From east and south.
Oh, so they jumped onto us.
I'm only telling you this because they've been proficient. They're very proficient in night training and engagements, and during that time, they were able to ascertain enemy movements.
Okay.
They heard build-up when there wasn't before. Now they're telling you there is an attack on Morristown.
However, the British had spent several turns trying to perfect this encirclement. And just because the Americans rolled a natural 20 does not mean they will escape unscathed. And this is why the Americans are going to have to fight to break out of this encirclement before it can close. The Patriot force is horribly outnumbered. The British have brought to bear 2 full infantry regiments and an elite grenadier battalion, whereas the Americans only have 4 companies of militia, but 3 companies of elite riflemen. The British will begin this engagement by quickly trying to run up their 2 infantry regiments that are located to the east. Their grenadier battalion is by itself trying to hold off the American breakout. Speaking of which, let's move over to the western side of the battlefield, where the American militia and light infantry are trying to break through the British grenadier battalion. Despite the terrible quality in their troops, the Americans have decided to go full force on the offensive, sending their militia in front of the light infantry right into the face of British bayonets.
This one's firing on that one. Hit. This one's firing on that one. Hit.
Oh, devastating volley on that.
In our game, grenadiers are classed as elite infantry. So being at point blank range, these grenadiers absolutely maul the militia battalion. Despite this, the militia will soon answer the British in kind, unleashing some very devastating volleys.
Hit. This one will shoot at that one. Hit. Next militiaman will shoot at that one.
If it's a 6, is it a double?
No,
only elite infantry.
The American goal for this battle is to save those American riflemen. Riflemen units are considered elite in our game, and thus are much rarer to get during the campaign. And so with that, the Americans have elected to conduct a full frontal assault with their militia to tie down those grenadiers.
Bayonets! Bayonet!
And with the call for bayonets, the militia surged forward towards the British grenadiers. However, those grenadiers will be able to get a few lucky volleys off before the militia arrive.
Fail. They're riding regardless of the commander now. Next. Fail.
While the militia engage the grenadiers, the Americans begin to move their riflemen around the right flank, attempting to get them off the board without sustaining many casualties. Despite their vicious charge, the militia stand no chance against grenadiers, and so are pushed back and begin to rout off the field. By this point, the British had realized that the American goal is to save those elite light infantry. And with that, they try to rush their 2 remaining regiments into Morristown to prevent this breakout.
Ooh, and they're in range. So, for their movement, they're going to charge.
All right, roll to get a volley off. Throw me that blue dice. Oh, wow.
All right, melee.
In an attempt to kill as many of these riflemen as they can, the British have decided to start throwing their grenadiers at the problem.
Ooh, double hit.
Double hit.
and then they're going to charge.
Charge.
All of the rifleman units will be able to get a volley off before the enemy arrives. In our game, the only way that you can shoot when it is not your turn is if you roll a 6 on a d6. And here, both elite light infantry companies managed to get that roll. But despite that, it is not going to affect the melee outcome much at all. Both of those elite light infantry companies are going to be thrown back by British steel and continue their attempt to flee off the board.
They missed. All right, let me see if I can do anything with these guys.
Unfortunately for the British, those American light infantry will escape, though badly mauled. The big reason for this is because the British could not bring all their forces to bear. Finally, at the very end of the battle, the British had managed to bring up their artillery, which had been out of range up until this point.
I doubt I'll be able to get a shot off of that other artillery. Let me see. Here. Oh, go over here. Yes. All right.
And as luck would have it, they're going to miss every shot. Ending their turn, seeing that the initiative is on their side, the British continue the offensive.
I want these units to reform and continue pushing on Fort Johns.
Okay.
I want them to surround the fort.
Seeing that the British are beginning to make their move on Fort Johns, the Americans begin to rapidly redeploy a regiment from Trenton, putting them on sloops and sailing them up the Delaware to land to the west side of Fort Johns to hopefully reinforce it. However, the Americans are unaware of the British Light Infantry Battalion in the woods north of Spain's Tavern, watching the ford into the fort. The British have spent a lot of time sneaking those light infantry across the river. But now let's look at the Americans' diplomatic role this turn.
Okay, diplomatic roll, we're going against the militia in Philadelphia.
Yeah, let's roll for militia in Philadelphia. 2 more companies. The militia are raised in Philadelphia.
The British during their turn don't really look at the Fort Johns area. Instead, they are looking at a larger strategic picture. Continuing to fortify in Cape May, they are starting to put feelers out in southern New Jersey and Delaware. While between Princeton and New Brunswick, the British keep running into an American cavalry screen, preventing them from seeing what's in the Princeton-Trenton area. The British will also perform many local intelligence roles. In our game, a local intelligence role is just things that your units might have seen in their general area. Very different from a theater-level intelligence role. For this one, they'll be looking at their most southern stronghold, Cape May, New Jersey.
I also want to use a local intelligence role around Cape May. Just what do my
You guys see?
what do my pickets see and everything?
The commander there says that he's been really diverting most of his time to the fortifications. He says as of now he hasn't made like a concentrated effort for pickets, but he says what pickets he does have. That
He better have some out. Is all I got to say.
He says he is an officer of His Majesty's Army. He knows what to do. But he says that his pickets have not spotted anything.
Yeah,
no, he has not been aggressively sending out pickets.
Yeah, well, I mean, I ain't asking him to send out scouting parties. I'm asking him to check around his lines. I want to know if there's anything poking and prodding. And being an officer in His Majesty's Army don't mean shit to me after that dumb motherfucker in that damn Dragoon company up here.
We'll edit that. We'll edit that bit. So,
I mean, even you agree.
yeah.
With the British dealing with the consequences of having drunken dragoons, the Americans are going to be dealing with the benefits of it, namely in information.
Do you have any intelligence or diplomatic roles you would like to make this turn?
Intelligence, Spain's Tavern, whenever those folks left. I know they went west. Do they give the drunken ones perhaps maybe say, hey, we're moving out in this way, going to this town?
I will tell you, the owner of Spain's Tavern reports that the drunken British cavalry did move south, and they let it slip that their intent was to scout out Easton and Allentown.
Overall, we know that the Americans do not have as many professional forces as the British Empire. And historically, the United States reached out to France and got French support. But this is only after Saratoga, a somewhat major victory which allowed French support. The Americans are going to try to call this in early. But with wargaming, the timeline is now skewed. Saratoga is not a set event. Instead, I have set criteria for a Saratoga-level victory. The criteria is that the Americans must overwhelmingly defeat 3 British regiments in the field, allowing for French support. But until that happens, the chances of that arriving are very slim.
Contact the French.
Okay.
See, and I know this will take a few turns and whatnot, is I would like to see the soonest they could get here. As we have been bleeding these Brits, they've taken no real territory of consequence. And even our defeats, we have been slaughtering most of their forces. And this would be a good way for the French crown to get some territory back from the British, namely Canada. And I want it in the letter that my intent is to go north into Canada if they send troops here and help take back former French territory.
This is a very crazy promise to give the French, but this is a campaign and anything could go. So maybe in the future we'll see an American invasion. There won't be any major movements by the Americans this turn. Seeing that Fort Johns was under siege, that regiment that they had sent up the Delaware has finally landed, east of Spain's Tavern, and they're going to begin marching to Fort John's aid. But not before they stop by Spain's Tavern to give the local tavern keeper a reward for so graciously serving those British dragoons.
Is going to march onto the road and up to Spain's Tavern, and they're going to be delivering 2 casks of rum to John Spain, I believe the tavern owner is.
Yes, John Spain, the tavern owner.
He's getting 2 casks of good Caribbean rum from General Fallish on his personal stock.
Wonderful.
Yes.
The British this turn will mainly maintain their positions around Fort Johns, with a limited advance from Lewes to Milford, for a staging ground to eventually march on to Dover. By this point, the siege lines around Fort Johns had nearly been completed, earthworks and all. The real worry for the British this turn is going to be attrition. It is November after all, and both sides are soon going to have to start looking for winter quarters.
Define winter attrition.
Winter attrition is every turn that a unit is not in a favorable area for supply or encamped, they receive 1 bead of damage.
For every single unit in that formation, or?
No, I'm going to roll for the attrition,
Okay.
if that makes sense. So I would roll like we'll say a D12 or a D6, depending on it. So like a unit right here in the middle of the wilderness, I'll roll a D12, and that's up to how many beads of damage that force will take.
Yes.
But if you're along somewhat of a road, I would roll a D6 to see how much attrition that force would take.
Right.
Back to the campaign map in the British movement towards Milford. If you remember, the British unloaded their entire Marine contingent at Lewes, and this is the force they're going to use to seize it. However, you cannot forget the fact that the Americans have a new Minuteman system in play. It's going to have to be a pretty high roll to negate this.
And I will also tell you that the Minuteman system in Milford is active.
I want the Marines to spread out about through town and disarm populace.
Okay, let me see if they moved in with enough speed and ferocity to kind of not allow the militia to muster. We'll say these are Marines. I'll give them a 50-50 chance. So
Because, I mean, they're shock troops. They
are. So that's why I'm going to give them a 50-50 chance. Because this town knows that Lewes is falling, right? So the Minuteman,
Yes.
if anything, would be somewhat on alert. All right, let's roll it. Your Marines blow through Milford and pretty much negate the
Minuteman
rebel
system.
Minuteman system in that area.
Okay.
Unlike in New York, British influence in Delaware is a little lacking in our campaign. Knowing this, General Colvin will issue orders to ensure that no British intelligence in Delaware falls into American hands.
I want the town placed under martial law. I want all people, if they're not to be assholes about it. They're like, hey, Y'all can go about like your standard business, but you're not leaving. Not northward anyway.
We can edit that.
Like
Okay.
you can, I mean, you can go to the store, you can do whatever, you can farm, you can do whatever you got to do, but as of right now, if you're caught going north of town into
Over.
rebel lines, you will be arrested and held until this situation. You won't be charged as a spy. It's not none of that stuff. But you will be held until the situation is handled.
You do receive word that the 2 American frigates have been spotted
Okay.
going into a Dutch harbor. What would you like to do? It is presumed that they are there to resupply. It is a neutral port.
See if there's anything on offer to the Dutch to cut off.
Unfortunately for the British, they're too late. The Dutch have already welcomed the Americans with open arms into their harbor. And with that, the Americans are going to try to take advantage of this Dutch hospitality.
And my ship's in the Dutch harbor. How's
The
how
Dutch.
are our good friends the Dutch treating us with John Adams being up there too?
Yeah, the Dutch have welcomed you, very much so.
I welcome them.
They have given you provisions and whatnot.
Up to this point in the campaign, the American Navy has really been more of a nuisance to the British, instead of more of an actual threat. But with the Americans now in a neutral Dutch harbor, they will try to expand their navy as the Americans did historically, namely with the use of privateers.
One of that captain to try to see if there's any people who would have a grudge against the British who may want to sail out with them
So
when the
you
time
do
comes.
Are you trying to do a diplomatic role for privateers to join you?
Yeah, we're gonna do that. Yeah, why not?
Little mercenary recruit.
Yeah, a little mercenary recruitment.
All right.
The Americans don't know it yet, but they got really high on this role, and someone give them an additional frigate that has joined their fleet, which will bolster their Atlantic fleet to 3 frigates. The Americans will begin the end of November by checking in on their spy that has been in New York City. He has been there for almost a month now, and they are tired of wasting their intelligence rolls on a spy that isn't providing any information. But this turn, that may change.
My spy. What's he doing?
All right.
Your spy's been invited to a dinner at British headquarters.
It's gonna go really good or really bad.
It's gonna go really good, really bad. He's been rubbing elbows with a lot of the high staff members. And so yeah, he's going to dinner tonight to perhaps meet the theater commander.
Okay.
With their spy now proving to finally be useful, the Americans will continue their advance to relieve Fort Johns, leaving Spain's Tavern, eastwards. However, the Americans are still unaware of the British Light Infantry Battalion, which had been snuck across the Delaware and now lie in ambush near the road.
We have battle.
Good deal.
The Americans seem to shrug this off as though it's not going to be a major engagement. Little do they know that this will be the biggest and bloodiest battle that we've had in the campaign so far. That's it for today's episode. For battles, brushes, and everything in between, make sure you subscribe and join the community. Until next time, Generals, see you on the tabletop.